Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to APT. I'm LD Demola, and to my left,
And Yosuji, House of Commons.
Pascal Atoma, House of Commons.
Ike Onoha, House of Commons.
APT.
sir.
Anyone Malay?
Today's topic is pretty straightforward and direct. Is it time for black people to go back to Africa? When I say black people, I mean black people in diaspora. Whether you're African from Africa with your roots still in Africa, in London, in America, Switzerland, wherever you are, and African Americans or Africans, basically if you're black, if your skin is black, is it time for us to go back to Africa?
I mean, you want me to start? Can I go?
Try. Let's just get busy.
Man, this topic is very strong because I don't know what will happen for them to agree to go back to Africa. So,
You can speak.
but I would say it this way. The Africans that came to Africa, that's like us.
They came to
Immigrants,
America.
African immigrants. That came to America, African immigrants. If you're done with your training here, right, I think it would be nice to go back to Africa. Because living over here and going through a circle, doing the same thing over and over again, you're able to make money, you're able to take care of yourself, right? You're able to buy a house, buy a car, take care of your children, but you're not really making an impact. Because there's a reason why God created you in Africa, right? So I know some people will say, oh, you're just speaking, but you've not gone back yourself. I go home all the time. I work at home. I have a lot of partners in Nigeria. But from the question you said, the plan is in the works for me to finally go back. Because I think like with what we've learned in America, that the best way we can use it and really make an impact in this world is taking it back where we came from.
Okay,
So
so
I
I'm
think it's
going to
time.
ask you a question when we're done.
Okay, yeah.
You said the
I
word
think it's time.
training,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Well, that's a big generalization. You're talking about black in general. Because I mean, most Africans or African Americans, people who are born here that don't know their roots, haven't trained here, where are they going to go back to though?
Okay, that's
That's the
part of the
question, okay? Well, for me personally, is it time for me to go back? So I'll say, yes, I don't know if I'm ready to go back to Nigeria
Okay.
yet. My brother,
Okay.
leave that to you.
Okay.
Am I making an impact in Nigeria being here? Yes, I am. Because I contribute financially and definitely mentally also I'm able to encourage and give my people advice and concerning whatever things they get into do, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to ask him a question later too.
And then we'll pick on
What do you think?
Well, I think, in the wake, I think what makes me really ask this question is because in the wake of all I can't even name all the people that have, been killed and all the bad things that have happened, like with the Trayvon Martins, that whole lineage of events, the major ones that you've seen televised and the Baltimore riots and all these things like that. That's kind of what prompted this question because, I've been living here most of my life, so I've seen the lack of there really hasn't been that much change in certain respects. I was here in LA when the LA riots happened, and I'm here right now watching the same thing happen, across 3,000 miles away. So I start to ask myself, which I've known already, it's not just because of white supremacy or anything like that. That's just a part of it. I just feel like the way the system is set up and the way that everything has been institutionalized against us. It's either you play the game and win for yourself, or you band together and win as a group as black people, or you leave. Because being black already has a connotation of just before you even say a word. Being black already has its context. If you're white or some other races, there's not really a context behind it. And if there is a context behind it, it's nothing like being black. So that alone, and the people the gatekeepers in every industry, in our industry, don't look like us. So we have to make for our own to really win.
So are you saying it's time to go back? Or
Now,
stay?
the reason why I say it's the time to go back is because on another perspective, I feel like we're not wanted here at all, and our lives aren't valued at all. If I'm getting pulled over, I'm scared for my life. Because anything can happen. I'm not white, so anything can happen. Little stuff like that makes me. And there's so many things to talk about. It's a very big topic, but when I start to think about being a black man in America, I'm like, I don't know.
I'll say this, I think Africa is the obvious pool of black, right? Because there are black people who are Jamaican, who are,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly if it's through slave trade or whatever the case may be, I don't know. But Africa is the obvious pool of a lot of black people.
Right.
I think it is important for anyone black to be connected to Africa as the pool of other black people.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is this. We can say it might be time to go back to Africa. We're all Nigerian Americans living in America.
Yeah.
We say we're not wanted here. We can also ask the question, are we wanted back home? By our families, yes, but by Nigeria, are we wanted back home? Do they know the value we bring back from here? That's one question. Another thing is, I think the reason why it's so much easier to disrespect black people is because I don't know what value we put in Africa. If that makes any sense. Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
If home looks like that, why should they respect you outside of home?
What is home, first of all?
Yeah.
You see
Before
what
you
I'm
even go there, what is
now,
home?
and when I say when home looks like that, I'm not talking about what Africa actually is, because I can only give the perspective of Lagos, and from my perspective, Lagos is the result of money came and money went, right? And the system was not set for the people who are going to exist in that system afterwards to be able to run it correctly. Because if you go into the villages, Nigeria is still running with untouched, kind of systems, if that makes sense. I haven't been to the villages yet, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
The perspective I have of Lagos and Nigeria is different when you go to the villages, right? But I think it's important for black people to connect to something black and the stories and the foundations of
Okay.
black morals.
Okay, you?
Okay, yeah. What I'm gonna say about that is from what you said, and I'm gonna go on what you said. From what you said, he said, "Are we wanted back home?" Yes, we are wanted back home. Once we are needed back home, yes, we need to go back home. For the African Americans, it's a choice to see if they want to relocate and go back. So those are people who feel connected. Because some African American friends of mine, they feel like, oh, I have to go to Africa. I have to go to Africa. I know an African American friend of mine who said, I just want to go to Africa and just lay on the sand. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for someone like that, if he actually goes back to Africa and he's able to assimilate, and being accepted, I see the possibility of him saying, you know what, F you America, I'm fine here. Because I know a lot of, at least 4 African Americans that have actually packed up their stuff and moved back home. I know one that moved back to Ghana.
Yeah.
I know one that moved back to Cameroon, and 2 that moved back to Nigeria. Yeah.
Never been connected to Nigeria before.
Never. No. They travel. The one that moved back to Nigeria, they've been to Nigeria 3-4 times, and they finally decided to go open up a hair salon in Nigeria. So as we speak, they live in Abuja. Right. Then I know a couple of them are married Nigerians that said, "Oh, I want to go home." I give you example, Charlie Boy. Charlie Boy has been married to his wife Diane for 30-something years now. Diane doesn't want anything to do with America. She only come here to visit her people, but she's gone home. She feels she's home. She's comfortable at home. So we are actually needed at home, right? I give you an example.
Does home know that though?
Yeah, home. Okay, even if home doesn't know that, we need to make them understand why. I give you an example. Ike. Ike studied nuclear medicine. Is there any hospital in Nigeria that can handle nuclear medicine cases?
Right now, no.
Okay.
Not on record.
Right now, no, not on record. But Ike, as we sit here, is the one that handles nuclear medicine at Palmdale. What is that?
Oh yeah.
What is it called?
Regional hospital.
Palmdale Regional Hospital. Because I've been with him when he's on call, right? Now I asked you one day. I said, Ike, why can't we write a proposal, send to the government of Nigeria, set up a system whereby this same thing you're doing for these people here, you do in Africa.
That's what I'm
saying. But he told me that's not a nuclear.
That's not a nuclear lab. any place that can supply radioactive materials in Nigeria.
Okay,
There's
let
not
me
a
ask this.
generator.
Let me ask
Okay,
this.
so let me finish my point.
Okay.
Yes.
So he said me that's not a place like that, but right? Are you telling me that our Nigeria doesn't have money to build a nuclear lab?
That goes back to my question.
Okay.
Does
But
home
that's
know?
what I'm saying.
Does home know the value in him enough to invest in him?
Okay, excuse me. If you don't go home and let home know what you can do, how are they supposed to just
Well,
breathe the air?
well, my brothers,
Okay,
I
so
know that you can do that.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Well, part of what you just said, it sounds so good though, but it's very technical as far as maybe what I do, because I know that South Africa has a nuclear generating plant. They do have isotopes in South Africa, and that's been delivered. You know, it can be delivered to Nigeria. It's very expensive to do it. Home, see my people, the mentality of Nigerians is one. The rich people would rather them get all the cure and the treatment by flying to London, because they come back and brag to their friend, oh, I just went to London to get my heart checked.
Yeah.
They would rather do that than build a plant or hospital in Nigeria where everybody else can have access to.
Yeah.
It's a bragging thing. So we first of all need to change our mentality in
And we're talking about Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
We're talking about us.
Yes,
Nigeria.
yes.
We need to- That's the
Let me
fundamental
ask you a
thing
question.
first.
Let me ask you a question. How do we change this mentality?
Well,
I'll give you an example. How do we change this mentality? Right? Now, Baba, you take for instance, myself. I'm in the film industry. Now, first time, 2005, I thought I knew enough to go home. You remember? I went home in 2005. For 6 months, I couldn't break in. I said, okay, that means I've not done enough work to come back. I came back to America. Now, I'm going home again. But the system I'm going home again now is different.
And that works in your favor.
It now works in my favor because now I've done a lot of press, I've done a lot of collaborations with some of them at home. Now they know your value, whereby now I'm doing business with people like ROMD, I do business with the World Bank.
Let me ask you this.
South Africans.
Let me ask you this.
So
Okay.
you have to make the move.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? For
Okay.
them to understand that.
Oh, absolutely. But you're talking from the perspective of someone who knows where home is,
Yeah.
right? So you know where you come from, you know where you are, and you know where you can go back to. Now, for those who don't know where to go back to, right? How do you see them? Because the reason why I
No, I will answer the
the
question.
reason why I see this question as important is because everything outside of Africa, and there's still percentage and sprinkles in Africa, but everything outside of Africa that is black is a story told from someone else's perspective, usually the foundation. So the foundation of an African American is told from the perspective of someone who's usually not African American. Majority of the stories that have been told. So, number one, not only do you not know where to go, but I think the reason why I going back to Africa is no matter where you go in Africa, just seeing something black untouched is relaxing. Because a lot of our moves that we make here, even waking up in the morning as a black person in America or in London, are calculated because there's already an expectation, whether it's negative or positive. You're already being looked at as something different,
Can I
and
jump in real quick?
you act upon that.
Let me jump in real quick. In further what we were talking about, what you're saying. I think definitely the rate of growth in Africa and Nigeria. Look, I'm an agent of change. I so much believe in the future of Africa. And definitely right now it's on record that Africa's economy is growing at a rate of 6 to 7% per annum. So that's a very high rate of growth. Anybody in business should know that Africa should not be overlooked. If you have money or if you're interested in doing business, you should definitely not overlook Africa. That I know, I trust. So you can still do business in Africa. You can still not overlook Africa and be a part of Africa. But I don't believe you necessarily have to pack up all your stuff here and go back to Africa for you to make any change. You can still affect change living here and being bi-coastal.
My dad came to this country in 1977. Matter of fact, when he came into the country, the pilot made an announcement that Elvis Presley had died in the airplane. That's how long he's been in this country, almost 40 years or so. when the plan for everybody back then was you go come to America and then
Get your education and go back. Okay.
So what happened was he got his education and then his dad was like, it ain't cool out here. Just stay in America. And I think that as much as the times have changed, I think that's kind of still the same sentiment. Why am I going to go back home for? What am I going to go do back home? And that this whole brain drain type of thing that's happened over the years, that's like a whole other topic. But if we're talking about things that deter people from going home, that's one, the perception of what home is and what is going on at home for real. Me and you talk about this, how it's important to go home as often as possible. Just to be
so you can start on that.
understand what's going on.
Not even just understand, but just to reconnect. It's almost like going back to a gas station as a car. You gotta go and reconnect to the actual fuel. It just is a charge. But again, we're talking from the perspective of people who know where home is.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you
talk
think-
about?
Then I got one more thing I was gonna say.
Okay.
And then the reason what prompted this topic for me, why I thought it was important, was because I saw an article a day or two ago about African Americans moving back to Ghana. A large, not droves of people, but enough people to write an article about like, hey, black folks are going back to Africa right now. So, it just made me question, like, is it about that time where we look around, it's 1960, 1970, whatever, we look at our history in this country. We look at the way things have been going in this country in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. And I'm sitting here looking around like, they don't give a shit about us. They never did, but they don't care. There's nothing when we get looked at in media and everything that's put out, because that's a big part of it. Because even if you talk about these protests and everything that are going on, they show one side of it on purpose to portray a certain thing. And
now let me ask
You
you.
want to say something that will shock you about what you just said? When you go back home, like Nigeria, and if you go to the rich areas, I give you some Victoria Island, Ikoyi. Do you know who dominates those areas?
The foreigners,
The foreigners.
Lebanese, a lot of Middle Eastern.
Why is that
American.
surprising? So we can talk. Let's be real. Let's be real. We can say Africa's developing all we want. The truth of the matter is it in our hands?
Right, it's
Okay,
the foreigners
that's what I'm
coming
saying.
and bringing
Well, let's just say
all
it's
sorts of businesses
that's what
in
I'm trying to come
Nigeria.
in. If you go to Nigeria now, you have a case. You are fighting with an European or an American, and the Nigerian police get there. You know who's in trouble?
The Nigerian.
The Nigerian. You're in trouble, not the.
Wow.
Let me ask this question, right? This is kind of it's a little bit too deep. It's a little bit too deep, but you getting in trouble as a Nigerian, no matter what, right? The foreigner does not get in trouble. You get in at least 9 out of 10 times. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
regardless. Isn't that selling your people?
That is selling your people. That's what I'm saying, right? That the black people, including African Americans, including us, including the ones from anywhere, Ghana, whatever, it's time for us to actually stand up and reclaim our identity and reclaim our souls.
How do we do that? Because
I
if I may say something,
Good.
the thing that connects Chinese people is language. The thing that connects Mexicans is language. The thing that connects Spanish, language, right? Now, with an African American or a black person that has never connected to Africa and does not know where their stories link to Africa, what connects them? Is it just being black? Is it the stories that have been told about black? What connects them?
What connects them is the history.
Which history?
The history of the African Americans. The history, you cannot tell the history of the black American history, right? Without national Africa, which is the roots, where their great grandparents came from. So when you have a common history with someone like deep rooted like that, that should be a point of connection. So the only thing is that more black people, more African American people need to visit Africa.
can I make a
Visit
extra point
Africa.
on what he was?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This about the language. They call it the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It means that the language that you speak is basically how you think. That's how you think. It's proven, like, sociologically.
I mean, speak the grammar again. You said they call it what?
Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So basically, when you when you just told me earlier. Earlier.
I've never had that one.
It's so basically.
You made me pull it up myself.
Yeah. So basically, earlier Pascal was telling me a proverb, just like my mama tell me a proverb. Or Kongwa Jia Kachamama. Basically, the person that's in the palm tree, the palm tree doesn't tell you all the bees and everything that's inside when they're cleaning the thing, right?
The palm wine.
The palm wine, right?
Wow.
They don't tell you what's in there, but they're gonna give you the palm wine.
Get the palm wine and you drink it sweet.
But when you grow up out there, these are the things that you hear growing up all the time, and this is the way people think. This is the way we talk. I know that I have uncles that they just talk in proverbs. They can't tell you a sentence without speaking in a proverb. So going back to what he was saying, if we don't even understand, because culturally there's some big differences culturally, background, and how we came up, and how we see the world, and how we view things, and how we're taught. And I think that goes into even other people's cultures too. That might be a little bit of a deeper example,
Yeah.
but I think it's kind of this.
Okay, right, thank you guys. This topic is actually turning into something I never knew we were going to go all these places with this. This is interesting. What you brought up, about language, I think is huge because Nigeria, I think we need a unified language. We need one language in Nigeria.
We have it already.
No.
It's called pidgin.
What is
We
it?
have it already.
It's called
We say it's
Okay, so
pidgin, but
pidgin,
it's
pidgin
not
is not an
an
original language.
official.
It's not even
in
official.
Nigeria.
It's not even official.
It should be.
Pidgin is not an original language.
Yeah,
It should be
but it
original.
should
It's not
be.
original.
Yeah,
it is original to us.
Pidgin is English authored.
No,
That we all understand
guys.
This is what I understand.
We're all saying about the
Exactly.
same thing. Not 100% of Nigerians speak or understand Pidgin English. You know that.
It's more than they speak English.
Definitely,
Exactly.
but not all.
It's more than
If you go to
Yoruba,
the-
Igbo, and
if you go to
Hausa
the-
people speak.
More than
The Jamaicans, they're gonna follow
Exactly.
But Patois is widely accepted. Everybody in Jamaica speaks Patois.
Why is it
So
widely
that's what I'm
accepted?
saying. No. I'm saying it's
Because they accept it as their own.
That is where I'm going with this.
Okay.
We need to at least have that in Nigeria. We're talking about Nigeria right now. Have one language. It's a unifying factor, just like you mentioned Chinese and Mexicans, and because language is huge.
And we vilify
If
pidgin
we
like
have
that.
exactly
We
I
vilify pidgin.
never thought about that.
growing up,
Spanish.
growing up, you don't want to speak pidgin English because they think you're uneducated.
Vilify- that's what I said, we
you're not
vilify
savvy,
pidgin.
you're
That's what
not-
I'm trying to
you
say.
know, that's a totally
It is.
different even topic that we if we want to go into.
Hey, man, it's still
we'll
connected.
expand that. But I guess what I'm saying is that would help us moving forward because even though we don't have racism in Nigeria, we have ethnicism,
Okay.
tribalism, nepotism. We have every other isms that is different from racism. In America, the only thing we have in this society is racism.
It's not the only thing, but it's
Well, it's the main thing. Okay,
No,
that's right. It's the major thing, which we don't have. But like you said, a Nigerian police officer comes to a case, sees another Nigerian and a
In
European,
Lagos.
but it automatically accepts that the Nigerian is at fault. What is that?
Can I ask you this question though?
Yeah.
This is a real question. It's probably a little bit too broad, and it might not be the right question. But from my perspective, it looks like black people are the easiest to disrespect internationally.
Okay, you know why?
Well,
Can I answer that
Do you
question?
agree? Number
Can I
one,
answer that-
and if you do agree, why?
Can I answer what
Yeah.
question? The reason is because
Do you think it is the truth? You think-
yeah, it is the truth.
I think it's
You know
coming from
why?
the slave mentality.
Oh, you
That's
know what?
where
There's
that's
some
coming from.
saying that says the way you make your bed
Is that-
is how you're gonna, lie on it. Now, the reason why black people are being disrespected like that is because they easily sell their souls. They easily sell their souls. Have you watched the movie Black November? If you watch the movie Black November, you see a character in that movie who, because of the money he was making from the white people, was ready to sell the whole village. And you see that movie Black November 2, you see where 4 elders, just because these people were giving them peanuts at price, right? Were ready to change the laws of the village to suit the Europeans that were coming in to do oil exploration. You see what I'm saying? Whereas, if you and I go into a village in Texas, a white supremacist village in Texas. What are we going to tell them not to sell themselves?
Well, you can.
But you
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
right?
You went to the extreme though.
Oh,
Even if it's not. Even if
no.
Even if it's not a supremacist neighborhood,
Okay.
just a regular.
Okay.
Let's make it easy. Let's make it easy. Even in a black neighborhood in America,
They will not
you don't even have a name.
And
You don't have to say of your own as a black
they
person.
have accidents.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not even talking about
Not even
African.
even
I'm
if you're
saying
African-Americans.
we're blacks in a black
versus
city
black
in
in
America.
America.
You don't even have a say in
You
America
don't.
in a black city in America.
The thing is
I'm not
that-
talking about Africans.
the
I'm
thing
talking
is
about
that-
blacks in general.
The thing is, let me give you another example. Why it's going to be a little difficult for all of us to unite like that. Let's take Nigeria for instance. You are from Yoruba. You are from Hausa. You are from Akwa Ibom, right? I'm from Igbo. We can't even come together as brothers and do something without one or two people and say, leave that Yoruba boy alone, or leave that Igbo boy alone. Let's not even talk about marriage.
Would you agree that money will speak and unite them? And do you think that's a problem?
Hold on, money. We speak and unite them. What did I say before? Sell their souls. Why does it have to be money? Because anything that's built on money doesn't last. There are some key things in life that when you build on it.
So do you think that's the foundation?
Friendship. When
The
the
foundation-
the foundation is, let me give you an example. There's some guys that are doing well, they go and marry somebody when they're doing well, like the basketball players or football players. They marry, these girls follow them because once the money is finished,
They're
the
going
love is gone. That is the same thing with us, the Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, being united by money.
Do you think
that
that's-
means once the money is not there, that will scatter. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think that black people need to sit back and look at the mirror and try, each and every one of us, try to figure out
who we are?
why are we selling our souls, basically.
I mean,
And who are we? And what is it that we, why are we here on earth?
how can we help
Why-
each other without money being the foundation?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
Why can't we be based on brotherhood, sisterhood, friendship, love?
Do you think
Every-
those are the building blocks of us being less disrespected and actually having a say moving
See,
forward?
if you have a family, right, and an outsider sees that family is not in peace, that outsider can easily come into that family and do some bullshit like the other one.
Oh,
Right?
shake my hand.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
If you have a family and the outsider looks into and see that your family, you guys are not together, that outsider can easily come in there and start trouble because he knows you guys are not together. But no matter if you're poor or rich, but they know that you guys are together, they'll be scared to come
Well,
to
I guess basically
Yeah,
can I conclude or round up this
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah, so that's what
Anyway,
Yeah.
in my conclusion, I'll say that charity begins at home. Home meaning wherever you are. You know, home doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in Africa or Nigeria or wherever, you know, it has nothing to do with geography, okay?
Home has a lot to do with geography for me.
Well, in the
Because you know
context
where
of
home is.
my
Yeah.
statement right now, home does not mean geography. Okay? Charity begins at home. Meaning that, first of all, you should find peace within yourself. And once you have peace with yourself, you will now relate to how you interact with other people. Because definitely, I'm not the type that like to deal with people or judge people based on skin color. Okay? I have a child. My child is not one color. Okay? She's a mixed child. Okay? That goes along with to tell you how much I'm willing to integrate and
Coexist.
and coexist. Exactly. My child has asked me a couple times, Papa, what color am I? And that made me think. I mean, this child is 4 years old. She's asking, Papa, what color am I? Sometimes she's like, she says, you are black. I'm not black. And I'm like, okay, this is not right. Where she's going with this? Because I don't know what people have started telling her already. This is a 4-year-old little girl. So I'm telling her, look, you are the human race. You're a human, okay? But definitely, she's black because scientifically it's been proven, even if there's 1% of black blood in any human being, it is the dominating gene, it's the dominating factor. That
And I
person is
think we
black.
should start telling
That
her
is
that
black.
she's black.
So I've told her she's black, and eventually
The world's gonna
she's
tell her she's black
embracing it.
anyway.
Oh, no, don't
She's
worry.
embracing
She
it.
goes good now.
So definitely, is it time for black people to go back home? I'll say home, it doesn't necessarily mean you should go back home. I'll say don't ignore where you're from. That's what I'll say.
If you
I don't-
know.
If you know.
Okay.
And if you don't know, try to know. Try to educate
Okay.
yourself.
Okay.
And don't distance yourself based on the fact that you don't know. Don't use that ignorance. Ignorance is not an excuse.
I love it.
Okay, my own conclusion. If you have the means to go home, please do so. Home is actually very beautiful. It might be the most peaceful place you will ever experience peace. There's nothing like waking up, looking outside, and knowing that, wow, this is where my great-grandfathers were buried. The spirit of my grandfather sleep here, the spirit of my great-grandfather sleep here. This is where my history started from. Now, let me use myself as example. No matter how many movies I make in Hollywood, I will never impact my people where I come from more than
If you're making it
much
out.
I make it at home.
Even if it's, you know,
Yes.
$1 million or $0.
Even if it's $1 million or $0, if I can help 50 children from where I come from, Abia State, if I can help 50 children find a career in their lives in show business that they can use to help another 50 when I'm dead, that is worth more to me than $100 million that I'm making in Hollywood. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's deep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I give you an example. If by God's grace I get into any kind of political position anytime soon, Ike is coming home. And there'll be a nuclear plant in Nigeria.
Amen.
And
I'm being real.
these guys?
Amen.
No, you guys said no,
You guys
but you know this is not a joke.
No,
It's
I'm
not
serious.
a joke.
I'm serious.
Because I know him. I know what he can do that we don't have. That is how we can make an impact.
Now let me ask you this quick question.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
That's how, because if Ike is the one, because I know him now and I get into politics, so I know someone I get into politics, I say, I know a guy who is in the white class country running this kind of thing. All we need is to try to do whatever it takes to build. One is to facilitate him bringing this thing back home. Do you know how many people, medical schools in Nigeria, that I can go to be giving lectures and start training people in nuclear medicine? Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's deep.
Yeah.
Right there, I'm being real.
That's deep.
Right there now, we have made an impact. That's why I said, it is time for black people to go home.
Let me ask you this quick question though.
Yes.
Quick question. Because you mentioned at the beginning training, and I've noticed that there's a lot of value in, you emphasize sharing information, right? Which is the only way to build a foundation. Now, do you think that perspective of yours comes from living away from home? Do you think the value that you put in what he has to offer comes from you living outside of Nigeria?
No.
You think it comes from your core?
The value comes from me looking at humanity. You see, I've been privileged by God's grace. I was not born in a poor family, never existed in a poor family, but was not trained as someone from a rich family. My father gave us training so you can survive. Now, what life means to me is no longer brand new cars, or building hospitals, or building buildings, or flying up and down with private jets. That's not what life means to me. God is my witness. What I want to achieve now is legacy. What can I leave in this world that when Pascal Atuma die, people will always remember you? I do you understand what I'm saying? So, I may not achieve that legacy through my work as a filmmaker. But if I can open a door for a nuclear plant to be built, nuclear to be built in Nigeria, and my friend coming to teach people, and whenever that history is told, my name will be there. That's legacy. That's why.
And that's, okay, I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
agree.
conclude here.
Yeah, do I think it's,
Okay,
I'll conclude, yeah. Do I think it's time for black people to go back to Africa? I definitely think it's time for blacks all over the world to be familiar with just the moral ethics and these stories in Africa, or at least, you know, some kind of general understanding of what Africa has to offer without thinking about money. Even if it's just you know, the prayers that we pray, how we build our families, our beliefs, things like that. I think it's important for you to connect with that, or at least know it, because as you said, charity begins at home. And I think one of the reasons why it's very, very difficult, not for just black people overseas, but also blacks in Africa, is because we forget the core of what we are. So not just talking about, you know, people who live overseas who've never been to Africa, but also us in Africa, as you said. Once we have money, it's easier for us to just try to kind of erase our history.
And then we'll start trying to live like them.
Exactly.
Instead of developing our own culture
Yeah.
to them.
And I don't want to say them, pointing them as a villain. It's something that we need to look at in ourselves, because speaking proper grammar, if I said one thing now, if I was going to wince, everyone will start laughing because I'm less English than I am, you see what I'm saying? So connect with something African, or connect with something extremely potently black, so that you can pick, you can see, you know, kind of a better perspective, and not just the one that you have that's been told to you by, you know, the outside, and also not forgetting your roots, point blank period. So you don't have to physically go back to Africa, but, you know, connect.
Yeah. You know,
Can I say
go
something?
ahead.
You know what you were saying? Let me tell you the kind of impact black people going back to Africa will have. It's the kind of impact that what happened to me when I went to Orlando, Florida. I read the history of African American history. A lot of them I watched things with Denzel, with almost of their leaders. That's one. Malcolm X. But the day I stepped foot on the land where Harry Timor was killed, you know, I don't know if you know the story of Harry Timor. They just stepped foot on that land, and they took me in. It was in Florida, right? And they said this building is a replica of the same building where that was bombed. The land the building is sitting on is where he was bombed. This room is where he was with his wife when the bomb went off. Then they took me now into his museum, which they built by the Harry Timor, right? This will happen in 1959, right? I was standing in that room. It's like there was a connection.
This is a whole different perspective. It's not a story somebody told you.
It's a different feeling, right? And if I don't take away anything from America the day I leave, I'm gonna take that feeling away. And seeing all the quotes that he did in his museum, for you, freedom is not for free. For you to achieve total freedom, you must be willing to pay the highest price.
Ultimate sacrifice.
And then he said, even another quote where he said, I have laid my life on the altar for my people. And you know, that's something that he said, and I looked at that. And when I was leaving that place, I was thinking, wow, what can I go back home and do? So that the day I die,
that same thing.
another young man come to my grave or where I lived.
And
it's
inspired.
They got inspired.
Okay.
So I think, honestly, as much black people as can go back home and help develop Africa, do it.
I just try to make it really fast. I think, unfortunately, for those who aren't as educated or enlightened about history prior to slavery, you know, they don't have the, you know, the liberty, not the liberty, but they don't have the privilege to know exactly where they come from and the ins and outs about their history. Like some other people have been given that same opportunity, you know. And then when you go home and you actually see it for yourself, like you're saying, it's a different ball game. It was a different ball game for me. I was born here. So when I went home and I saw what it was a completely different experience, you know, because I know some, and this is, I mean, it's because I think the white gaze, which is seeing everything from a white perspective, is really deep. We adopt it and we don't even realize we've adopted it.
And this is not just people overseas. This is in Africa too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Everywhere.
Correct. Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's like, I don't even know where to even begin. That's what I'm saying. This topic is really big, but I just think that the most important thing to close is that for us to go back home and just to see it for ourselves, just to begin to at least see. Because I think another thing too is just one more thing. I've talked to some people and they said that America is the first time that they've ever been referred to as black. What's black? When we get here, you know,
We're in Nigeria, we're not black.
you're not black.
You're-
You're
In Nigeria.
I ain't also from my
Yeah,
states.
yeah, right,
One part of that is I live in this village. Tunga, okay, cool. That's where you live. Okay, cool. I know
Right.
that's how it is. But then when you come here, you're black. The black guy.
Yeah, but also if a white person goes to Africa, they are white in Africa.
They're all white. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I
nevertheless,
think,
yeah.
but it's kind of, I think it's bigger than that for
Yeah.
us. And that's all at least sometimes, but at least they know I'm Irish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I guess what you are saying in a nutshell, real quick, you know,
Yeah, I'm done.
if a white man goes to Nigeria and is filling out any form or trying to go to school, you don't see any color where they ask you, are you Caucasian, African American, blah blah blah, so Hispanic, you know.
That system is not set up like that yet.
Correct, because you'll be admitted into that school based on being a human being.
You are because that
Right,
system
but
is
in
not set up like that.
America, you have to define what you are. Why? No, you should be a human race. There shouldn't be any form for you to feel asking you, are you African American, Caucasian, black? What does it matter? That's the class stereotyping and
America
classification
is
of human being that shouldn't be.
I was just one more thing. America is now in other countries' defense. I love America, but in other countries' defense, racism is not like it is here, like it is in other places. Racism is always an underlying issue here. You go to London and all those places. Not that racism doesn't exist, but it's not like this.
But I'll tell you this though.
Not like this.
I'll say this though. In America's defense, maybe I should speak from Los Angeles, California. As far as, you know, working with each other and at least being a little bit more accepting.
Yeah.
I would say from a Los Angeles
Yeah,
perspective, it's definitely a lot better here
No.
than it is in other places.
No,
Because in other
like
places,
in the South.
they're direct.
Like
In America,
In other parts of America and in other countries,
Yeah.
they will let you know to your face. They do not care. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just
I just experienced that. Okay, I just say
Yeah.
I just experienced something at the airport the other day. Did I hear a click?
Yeah.
That means it's over.
Yeah.
Are we sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw something at the airport the other day. I'm on United. I'm a premier flyer with United. So you know how you have the upgrade list. My name was next to be upgraded, right? So the woman is just a PAS. They didn't write the full. So the woman I came over there. I said, okay, I'm supposed to get upgraded. She just looked at me like,
who are you?
upgraded for what? So now I know the rules with United. Depending on the number of miles you've flown, and if you're a gold member or silver member, that's how when the upgrade comes, that's how it's gonna go. They're not gonna jump anywhere. So I said, let me keep quiet. Since she doesn't want to give it to me now, let me keep quiet. She said, oh, we still have about 40 minutes to go before the flight. And I know that 40 minutes to go, who's gonna go by first class? So I was waiting to see what she was gonna do. Do you know, she waited and waited and waited, and I'm in front of 4 people. And I seen those 2 people go to her, and she looked over there and looked at me and removed her eyes. I was just sitting there waiting. Because what I was waiting for, if she had upgraded anybody before me, I would have had a problem.
Alright,
So,
guys.
Either way,
So
connect home.
connect with your roots.
yeah,
Connect,
yes.
connect, start with small steps.